Hi, my name is Ravi. Welcome to my channel Payment Talks. Welcome back to ISO PAIN.001 video series. In last video, we understood the fields in group header and payment information sections. In this video, we dive deep into the transaction level fields in the credit transfer transaction information section. This section contains transaction level info. This section provides information on the individual transactions included in the message. This includes credit side information, payment level info like amount and any extra information that is required or applied for each specific transaction. As per ISO, this section can repeat multiple times. Another case of scheme differences is that CBPR does not allow multiple payments and restricts to only one transaction per message, which means this section is not repeated in a CBPR plus PAIN.001 message and will be present only once mandatorily with cardinality 1:1. The first field at transaction level is in fact a section, payment identification. This section is mandatory and it contains 3 IDs in PAIN.001. I will skip this section in this video and will cover all the payment IDs in both PAIN.001 and PAIN.008 all at once so that you will have better clarity on the IDs. One video, one explanation and everything to be crystal clear. The next field after payment ID section is again a section, payment type information. As mentioned, we will discuss this section in detail in a separate video. Few things I want to highlight are this section is present in both payment information section at batch level and in credit transfer transaction information section, which is transaction level. Unlike MT, where if repeating fields are there in two sections, then they are allowed only at one level. But in ISO, if the same field is present in two levels, then firstly they are allowed to be present in another level also. But this is not a clean practice. Having the information at one level only based on the business scenario is the best practice. For example, in CBPR, the usage guidelines restrict the usage of repeating sections to be mutually exclusive. Only one section can be present at any one level. CBPR also says that the section needs to be present at transaction level as CBPR supports only single transaction. CBPR says unless bilaterally agreed, this section at batch level should not be used. It is not completely restricting the batch level section, but giving the flexibility for banks to decide. Now coming to ISO principles, let's say if it is present in both the sections, then by hierarchical nature of the ISO message, the transaction level information overrides or takes priority over the upper level like batch level information for that transaction. For example, we have a batch payment with priority normal. But in that batch, there is one payment which needs to be processed urgently. Then that particular transaction can be mentioned as high priority. Please note, all these are the features that can be enabled by using the ISO messages. But in practice, many ISO features are still untapped as currently many banks are still trying to move from legacy formats to ISO formats. It will be a while where banks utilize these ISO capabilities. By the time these gets implemented, you will be masters of ISO and can guide the implementation in your organization. The next field is charge bearer. We have already discussed about this field earlier. This is present in batch level and transaction level. ISO hierarchical rules apply when used. In CBPR, usage of this field at transaction level is preferred. Also, we have already done detailed video on the charges. Please refer to that video. The next field is mandate related information. This is an optional field. Mandate related information carries details about an underlying mandate, a formal agreement or authorization that governs a recurring or pre-authorized payment instruction. In PAIN.001, this field is used when the credit transfer being initiated is linked to a standing mandate between the debtor or corporate and the creditor. For example, a recurring vendor payment, a utility payment, or a B2B standing order arrangement. It tells the bank that this payment is not ad hoc. It is being made under a pre-agreed mandate. This field is not allowed in the CBPR Plus. The next field is check instruction. This is an optional field. In PAIN.001, the check instruction section is used when the payment method is check instead of electronic transfer. It provides instructions to the bank to issue a physical check on behalf of the customer. This is a very rarely used for the online payments. The next field is ultimate debtor. This field is an optional field. We have already discussed about this field earlier. This is present in batch level and transaction level. ISO hierarchical rules apply when used. In CBPR, usage of this field at a transaction level is preferred as PAIN.001 is restricted to single transaction. Also, we have already done detailed video on the parties and agents in ISO. Please refer to that video. The next set of fields are intermediary agent 1 and its account. These are optional sections. In MT101, the same information is present in sequence B tag 56A. We have discussed this IA1 in detail with example when we covered the same field in MT101 fields. Please refer to that video for more clarity. Though this field is available in PAXO 8, this will not be directly mapped to PAXO 8. It will be dependent on the scenario which we discuss while discussing PAXO 8. The next set of fields are intermediary agents 2 and 3 and their accounts. These are optional sections. In ISO, the IA agents come in set of 3. That's why I feel they are there in ISO PAIN.1. Currently, I do not see any practical scenario where the initiating party will mention the IA2 and IA3 in PAIN.001. In MT101, there are no equivalent fields. In PAXO 8, it is dependent on scenario, just like IA1. The next set of fields are creditor agent and its account. These sections are optional in PAIN.001. But creditor agent is important information to be present in the instruction. It decides the routing of the payment at debtor agent. So, though it's optional, it's important to have this info in PAIN.001. Creditor agent account is not much of use unless any bilateral agreements exist. Anyways, please refer to the agents and parties video for more information on these sections. In MT101, the equivalent fields in is sequence B tag 57. In PAXO 8, it is mapped to the same field. The next set of fields are creditor and its account. These sections are optional as per ISO PAIN.001. The reason they might be optional is a creditor can be identified using the IBAN in account section without any info in creditor section, or using their details in the creditor section itself. As said, the main aim of these sections is to make creditor agent identify the creditor. Otherwise, who will receive the payment? In CBPR scheme, this creditor section is mandatory, but account section is still optional. It is expected that creditor agent can identify the creditor account to credit funds. But it is always a good practice to mention the creditor account in instruction. Again, for more information on this, please refer to agents and parties videos. In MT101, the equivalent field is sequence B tag 59. In PAXO 8, it is mapped to the same field. The next field is ultimate creditor. This section is optional. Again, please refer to the earlier videos for more clarity. In MT101, there is no equivalent field. In PAXO 8, it is mapped to the same field for transparency. The next field is instruction for creditor agent. This is optional field. This field carries specific instructions from the debtor directed at the creditor's bank on how to handle or process the payment upon receipt. Basically, it tells the creditor's bank, when this payment reaches you, here is what you must do with it. The information is present in the coded form plus extra information. The code set is external ISO code set. Few information can be mapped to sequence B tag 23E in MT101. This information is passed in the same field in PAXO 8. The next field is instruction for debtor agent. This is optional field. This field carries specific instructions from the corporate directed at their own bank, that is the debtor's bank, on how to process or handle this payment instruction. It tells the debtor's bank, when you process this payment, here is what I need you to do. The information is present in the coded form plus extra information. The code set is external ISO code set. Few information can be mapped to sequence B tag 23E in MT101. This information is consumed by the debtor agent and not passed further in PAIN.008. Please note that this field is also present at payment information batch level as free format. So the ISO hierarchical rules apply when present at both levels. The next field is purpose code. This field is optional. The field carries information in coded plus extra information format. The code set is external ISO code set. The field provides more granular information about the payment. Key characteristics of this field are that it is applicable to individual transaction, more granular and regulatory, and used for compliance reporting. You might wonder that why do we need purpose code when we have category purpose code? Category purpose code is not sufficient for regulatory reporting of central banks, cross-border compliance, FX monitoring, or capital controls, or AML transaction classification. That's why a detailed granular level of purpose code is needed. No equivalent field in MT101. In PAIN.008, information is carried in the same field. The next field is regulatory reporting. This field is optional. This field carries information required by regulatory or governmental authorities for cross-border or domestic payments that are subject to reporting obligations about debtor or creditor. It tells the bank, here is the regulatory information required by the authorities for this payment. Common use cases include foreign exchange regulations, central bank reporting, and cross-border payment monitoring. In MT101, the equivalent field is sequence B tag 77B. In PAIN.008, it is carried forward in the same field. The next field is tax. This section is optional. The field carries tax related information associated with the payment transaction. It provides structured details about the tax being paid or withheld as part of or alongside the credit transfer. For example, a corporate makes a GST payment. The complete information about this GST can be sent alongside the payment using this field. There is no need to send details separately. This is the real depth of ISO, which is structured data in the payment itself. There is no equivalent field in MT101, but if needed, remittance information can be used. In PAIN.008, it is sent in the same field. The next field is related remittance information. This field is optional. This field carries a reference or pointer to remittance details that exist outside the payment message, typically in a separate remittance advice document or system. For example, a corporate pays supplier for 100 invoices along with some more information. This information cannot be inserted in the payment itself. So this field will contain the information of the document that contains the information of this 100 invoices. No equivalent field in MT101, but can use the tag 70 if needed. In PAIN.008, this information is carried in the same field. The next field is remittance information. This field is optional. This field carries the actual remittance details directly inside the payment message itself, enabling the beneficiary to reconcile the payment against invoices or obligations. This field has two options to be populated: unstructured or structured. The unstructured option is there to support the legacy format of MT. In MT101, the same information is present in the sequence B tag 70. The structured option aligns with the ISO standards where information can be passed in more detailed manner to creditor. In PAIN.008, the information is carried in the same field. The last but not the least field is the supplementary information. This is available at transaction level and at the message level. The field is a generic extension field in ISO 20022 messages that allows additional information to be carried in the message beyond what the standard schema defines. Why does it exist? The ISO 20022 is a global standard, but every bank, market infrastructure or regulatory environment may have local or proprietary requirements that the standard schema does not cater for. Supplementary data provides a structured way to carry this extra information without breaking the standard message format. Supplementary data is a safety valve in ISO 20022. It exists to handle what the standard cannot anticipate. However, it must always be used based on bilateral or community agreement. It should never be used to carry information that already has a standard field in the message. That would defeat the very purpose of the standard. Overuse or misuse of supplementary data is a risk. If parties start using it to carry information that belongs in standard fields, it undermines interoperability, which is the core strength of ISO 20022. Just on a separate note, this section makes ISO 20022 so robust that this section can be used to carry the information of a blockchain payment which have completely different set of fields like wallet addresses, memo IDs, etc. Without completely revamping the standard, this section can be repurposed to be used. With this, we come to the end of PAIN.001 fields individually. But let's look at the overall fields of PAIN.001 to create a mental map to remember the entire PAIN.001. Complete fields of ISO PAIN.001 can be seen in this screen. We will follow the same theme. The red fields are mandatory. The bold fields are important fields. Let's go section by section. First, if you see the group header section, it contains basic details of the whole message like ID, when it is created. Then message level validation fields like control sum and number of transactions. Then main importantly, it contains information about payment before reaching to debtor agent, like who initiated and is there any forwarding agent or any authorization required, and also source from where the message is initiated. That's it. Next is payment information section, and we know that this is batch level section. So it contains information that belong to a group of payments and also the debit side of those batch payments. So basically it contains debtor, debtor agent and ultimate debtor details. Then batch level details like identification, booking preference, charges, validations like sum and number. That's all. One extra information is the important section of payment type information, which is present in both batch level and transaction level. Next is transaction level. This will contain the credit side of payment and everything that is applicable at transaction level, which means it contains mainly creditor, creditor agent and ultimate creditor details, basic identifications of each transaction, payment amount and its related info of exchange rate. It also has all the other payment level information like instructions, remittance information, etc. That's all. This is the complete PAIN.001. Once you work on the structure, you will remember the details of the sections, which is anyways same across messages in ISO. For example, an agent field, be it be debtor agent, creditor agent or any other agent, contains the same fields which are more than 100 in each. Similarly, debtor, creditor, ultimate parties are all party type information which contains same information anywhere in ISO. That's the beauty of ISO. If you have good command of empty, then ISO is just a correlation with extra details. If you are starting with ISO without empty knowledge, then that's also fine. Just try to analyze the ISO messages in this way and you will master of ISO in no time. With this, we come to the end of this video. We have completed the PAIN.001 series. Next, we cover the detailed field topics of payment type info, payment identifiers, and amount exchange rate sections in detail before we move to the most important message of PAIN.008. Until then, keep smiling and keep learning. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share for more such interesting topics on payments.